This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
Thank you for listening to the Covert Nerd Podcast. I really appreciate the time that you give me. Before we get into the episode, if you can think of somebody that would like this topic that you're about to listen to, please pause the podcast and share it with them. You can also go to covertnerd.net and look at previous episodes and different ways that you can get in touch with me. Let me know what you think. Without further ado, let's dive right in and nerd it up. Nerd fans, we got a fun episode today, talking something maybe a little more obscure that a lot of comic book fans may or may not know, but Valiant Comics from the 90s. So I've got Matt D from Kids and Comics and the 60s reboot. Right? Am I get the titles right there?
Hello. Close enough.
Okay. But yeah, Matt pinged me and said, "Hey, I want to talk some Valiant Comics because one of the previous episodes we had mentioned it, but really didn't dive into it." And you're right, Valiant was huge in the 90s. So Matt, let us know maybe a little bit about Valiant Comics especially in the 90s.
Okay. Well, you can't talk Valiant Comics without talking about the guy who shoots from the hip, Jim Shooter.
Yep.
Okay. Jim Shooter was editor-in-chief for Marvel comic books, and around 1987, 88, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 88.
He left. Yep. Okay. He left Marvel Comics, and there was this big hoopla about it. You know, apparently there was a lot of bad water under the bridge, or somebody burned a bridge going out there. I can't think of any other bridge references to Jim Shooter. What you might not know is that Jim Shooter's from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is one of those places that has a lot of bridges. But
he burned them all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So him and some friends of his decided that Marvel was going up for sale, and Jim Shooter's like, "Well, I'll just pull all the money I can possibly get all my friends, all these investors, and we're going to buy Marvel Comics." And apparently the deal fell through.
Yep. He got outbid by somebody. I think it was Ronald Perlman. Yeah, Perlman.
Okay.
Outbid him. Think about that today. Marvel Comics was in such bad shape that they were going to get bought by an individual. When you think about Marvel now and Disney and all that just seems unfathomable.
I know it's like it took $1 million corporation to buy out Marvel comic books now, or at least in the early
2000s or late 90s. Yeah. I can't remember when Disney bought them, but yeah. Anyway, okay.
You know, the deal fell through, and then Jim Shooter's sitting there with this pile of money. Now, I don't know about you, Lee, but if I have a pile of cash that big, the first thing I'm thinking about doing is I'm starting my own comic publishing company.
Sure, why not? Is that what you think of?
That's what I think of.
Yeah. Hey, it's the 80s, man. We'll do all sorts of weird things.
Yeah, I mean, he probably could have used it to go down to the corner drugstore and buy a whole bunch of, I don't know, methamphetamines.
Yeah, there you go. Cocaine. 80s, man. No, it's cocaine.
Exactly.
Cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he ended up creating Valiant Comics. The series started off with Magnus the Robot Fighter and Solar the Man from Atom. And I want to say there's a couple other titles there, but they were all classic Gold Key comic characters. Like he got the license for them.
Yep.
And so I think that's what I'll hand it off to you, Lee, so you can tell a little bit about Magnus the Robot Fighter.
Like you mentioned, he bought some of these old titles. It was just a great idea because, like Matt said, they've got this new comic book company, so you don't have the back catalog like Marvel and DC going back to, DC going back to Superman, Batman in the 30s and 40s, and Marvel back to Captain America in the 40s and 50s. So you got to remember, they've got to start all from scratch. There's no universe building. They have to start their own universe. He went back and purchased these old Gold Key comics. Magnus the Robot Fighter was one of them. And that was a comic book that ran back in the 50s, I believe. 1954 is when it started. And the premise behind that is it's in the year 4000, and humanity has become dependent on robots. So this is very much, the writer was Jim Shooter was the writer on this kind of reboot. Very much influenced by Isaac Asimov. They got the 3 rules of the robot, and they've got this robot police force in this sector called North Am. So the city covers the entire continent of North America. So it's this mega city. There is Magnus, the human in this, was trained from infancy by a robot called 1A, which is the first robot that was ever created, and it became self-aware. And so he trains him up to become this martial artist expert, and his skin is really hard, and he's really strong. He can basically rip robots in half with his bare hands. It's very cool. I love how the art style, and you can tell it's very 60s-ish, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
The robots are very kind of awkward looking, I guess, but not for that time period. So this is very much what your grandparents viewed the future would look like. Everything's a utopia. Everything's flying. No, there's no roads here. We don't allow roads in the year 4000.
It's crazy because it's got that pulp sci-fi feel that you would see in the old pulp novels, and
yes.
And yeah, it's definitely got that 50s era style to the art as well as to the storytelling. I mean, I can't remember who wrote or who did the art style for the first Magnus, but it looks like if you were to open up a 1950s comic book and there's, 1A. And it was funny because growing up, I had dyslexia.
Oh,
so I would always like transpose numbers and letters. So for the longest time, I always thought he was A1. A1 steak sauce.
Yeah. You're like, how am I going to fit that on a steak? But yeah, it's so cool. So, I mean, some people might get turned off by it, but I think it's kind of fun just because that whole era of comic books and just storytelling in general was very utopia-ish, I guess. They had their view of the future was very positive. The humankind was going to conquer the universe, and there was going to be no pollution, no war, blah, 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 that type of thing. But what they found is on kind of the premise of is that the robots, so 1A became self-aware, but other robots in North Am became self-aware and were going to overtake the humans. And so Magnus was created to take out these robots and to try to prevent the robot overlords from killing humanity. So it's a pretty common storyline. Nothing new here as far as the concept, but it was just a fun story. I like Asimov and iRobot, the whole iRobot story. So this kind of hits every liking that I like in a story. So I thought it was fun. Again, I should preface before we went live, I was not a big fan of Valiant Comics back in the 90s. This came out in 91, by the way. And I was a bit of a Marvel, Image, DC snob. So I thought, what is this Valiant upstart company? What is this all about? And so I didn't discover this until about 5 years ago. So this is all new to me. And I was like, there's actually some fun stories here.
Yeah. And, I read this in the 90s, and I got to say, I went to Valiant for the stories, and I went to Image for the art. Yep. So there's a lot of great stories written in these titles. And I kind of wish I was a little bit like you. Like, you just discovered this like 5 years ago. So you have like this whole wealth of stories to read for the first time. Whereas I go back and reread it, and I'm like, yeah, I remember the story, but it's just, it's still captivating, but it's not like reading it for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, it looks 90s-ish. I shouldn't say 90s-ish, but before the age of digital animation or digital art, you can tell this is all hand drawn.
Definitely. And then I think the coloring was still pre-digital coloring.
I think so.
Yeah. I know when Image hit the ground running, they had Malibu's coloring, digital coloring that they used.
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of like in its infancy. So this is like 91, so it's not quite digital colored yet. So you still have some of that classic stuff. I mean, it's not as crazy as some of the what's it called? It's not Kirby dots, but it's like they use that dot pattern to kind of color things.
Oh yeah, that was like in the 80s or 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
I remember They redid somebody redid something like that for X-Men. I forgot who it was, but they tried to reproduce that. It's kind of funny that artists today are trying to do old style art from the 70s and 80s now. But in the 90s, we wanted all that gone. Go figure.
Yeah, we want everything flashy and chromium and gold plated.
Yeah, even the somebody was publishing a comic book. You could buy the newspaper edition, so it had used the old newsprint paper.
Okay,
remember from the 80s?
Yeah,
and I remember in the 90s, nobody wanted that. They were going away from it. Now it's kind of in to go retro and get a comic that's printed on that stuff where it kind of bleeds all the lines and stuff. So
yeah,
but yeah, that they didn't do that on this, but still, it's a fun story just to go back and check out.
And of course, it's interesting that they take the typical, man versus machine, the rise of the machine kind of thing, like you would see in the Matrix or the Terminator, but they kind of, it's like not quite. The robots have completely taken over. I mean, there's still societies there, and Magnus is kind of like the guy to prevent the robot uprising. Yes. And I don't want to spoil anything for you because I don't know how far you've gotten into the Magnus, but
oh no, I've read I think the first 10 or so issues, 15 issues, so I'm not clear through yet, but you can spoil it. It's fine.
Okay, so post Unity. Now I'm gonna take a little tangent here. I'm taking this onto a tangent here.
Okay.
With the Valiant universe, but because they took these gold key characters and they expanded the universe, Jim Shooter came out with Unity, and Unity was the big crossover that was going to help form the universe and make all these characters interconnectable. And then after Unity happened, there was some explanations that where certain people got their powers and certain characters were introduced, but they also introduced the Malav race. I think that's pronounced right. And they were a robot race that was trying to take over future Earth, the 4001 AD Earth. So now Magnus not only had the regular robots he was battling, but now he had alien robots that he had to fight in order to save the world.
Nice. So. Awesome. Yeah, this is I should say that not all the robots became aware. I think it was 10 million or so out of the billions of robots became self-aware and were trying to rebel against the humans. So that's how they did it. Oh, hey, we got Kurgan in the chat from Hero Quest on Twitch.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah. Shazam. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I'd highly recommend somebody go back and check it out. I'm sure you can get this in trade paperback. You probably can even get the gold key ones. So if you're a fan of retro, I'd definitely check it out. It's pretty cool. Just looking back at just that style of art, that style of storytelling, just the imagination. Jim Shooter did a good job on these first few issues of keeping it pretty much like the original 50s and 60s style and storytelling.
Yeah. And if you think about it, I think that was about the time that he was growing up. So I'm sure he probably just went to the back of his room.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he started writing comics when he was 18 years old back in like the 1970s-ish.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. So he would have been, 10 years old when this came out or something like that. Oh, and I should mention, I think I read someplace in my research that Valiant Comics was the first company to do the 0 issues, which I thought was kind of fun.
And now everyone's doing 0 issues.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were doing half issues. I remember back in the 90s. It was like crazy. That's all I got for Magnus the Robot Fighter.
Speaking of Magnus and speaking of Jim Shooter, so I'm gonna get back onto the shooter line here. Jim was kind of pivotal in creating the Valiant universe. He took Magnus, he built this whole huge world of comics of these different characters, and then he came out with, like I said, Unity. After Unity is kind of when he fell to the wayside of Valiant, and Bob Layton took over. And I think it was again another thing like with Marvel, where Jim Shooter left Marvel Comics, burning his bridges, or getting kicked out of Marvel. But all of the investors basically kicked Jim Shooter out, and Bob Layton took over as editor-in-chief. And about that time, this big flashy company called Image was coming out, and they had
Yes.
Spawn and Youngblood and all this cool, like, hey, we're the rock and roll version of comic books.
Yep.
So Bob Layton and I think it was Jim Lee ended up becoming pretty good friends, and there was somebody else in Valiant that was good friends with Jim Lee. So they got talking, and they're like, hey, what if we kind of teamed up and made a crossover? There's no other independent companies out there that are crossing their characters over. So they got this crazy idea that they would take some of their characters from Image and some of the characters from Valiant and smash them together. And that's when they came out with Deathmate,
Yes.
which is a really cool name for the 1990s comics, Deathmate.
This cover, Matt, just totally encapsulates early 90s. If you want to know what early 90s Image comics look like, this is it. And you are totally right. Image was the company to be part of back in the 93, 94, 95 time frame.
Yeah, I mean, they were, and you think about it, I mean, you had Todd McFarlane, you had Jim Lee, you had, all these big names
Rob
now,
Liefeld, you had Dale Keown, Mark Silvestri, who did Savage Dragon, Eric Larson.
Larson, yes.
I mean, sheesh.
So these rock and roll artists teamed up with Bob Layton and his team of writers. And again, this goes back to the whole.
Hold on, Matt. Look at this cover by Rob Liefeld. Look what's on the cover.
There are feet.
Yes. Okay, sorry.
They're a little disproportional, but they're there.
Anyway, sorry. I just noticed that.
Well, he has a jumping scene. Both characters are jumping up.
Okay. Good point.
So, where was it? Okay, so
I'm sorry.
Deathmate.
I really distracted you there.
Not a problem. So yeah, it comes down to, it's like, okay, so we have Deathmate. So we have these really great writers who are doing great things over at Valiant, and we have these artists from over in Image. And when I first heard about this, I thought, hey, this is gonna be kind of cool because we're gonna have characters written by Valiant who has this. What I felt, personal opinion, I felt that Valiant had some superior writers, and then drawn by some great artists, some fantastic artists. So I bought issue 1 of Deathmate, and issue 1, of course, isn't numbered. None of these issues are numbered because marketing goes, well, hey, let's do something different. Let's instead of doing numbers, let's do colors. So they came out with the Deathmate Prologue, and in the colors red, black, yellow, and blue. And then they had the Epilogue. It was a 6-issue story arc. 3 of the issues were going to be published by Image Comics. 3 of the issues were going to be published by Valiant Comic Books. The Valiant ones, the Prologue, the blue, and the yellow, came out on time. Unfortunately, the black, the red, and the Epilogue were delayed.
Yes, that was Image's kind of kryptonite.
Exactly.
Delay after delay after delay.
And the biggest delay was Red, Deathmate Red, because it was drawn by Extreme Studios.
Oh, Rob Liefeld.
Yep. Rob Liefeld.
He was notorious for being late.
Exactly. And there's a story. There's a story that was told by Bob Layton in an interview on another podcast that I don't want to plug because it's not the Covert Nerd.
That's okay. You can plug whatever you want.
And it's not mine.
Oh, okay.
Bob Layton was in. I want to say he was stationed in New York City, and of course, Extreme Studios is out in L.A. So Bob was tired of waiting to get the pages for Deathmate Red so that he could, finish up the story. So he flies from New York to LA. He's standing outside of Rob Liefeld's house as Rob is finishing these pages up. And he's knocking on Rob's door saying, hey, I need these pages. So Rob is like passing these pages to Bob Layton. And Bob's going to go check himself into a hotel so he can finish the storyline. I just thought, wow, man.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
That does not surprise me. I think Eric Larson and probably Todd McFarlane were the only creators at Image that were on time or darn close. Now, you got this as it was coming out, right? Back in the 90s. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
it kind of sucked for me because I knew the end of the story because I got the epilogue before I got the Red.
Oh,
issue.
really? So they released the epilogue before the Red. They didn't hold it back.
Nope. They were like, you know what? Let's just finish the story up, and the Red will hit the shelves when it hits the shelves.
Oh,
And I think
I
at
didn't
that
know
point,
that.
yeah, I think at that point, Valiant was just like, you know, I'm tired of this. Let's just finish this off, and then we'll move on to bigger and better things.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Now I remember seeing this in the catalogs. I thought it was kind of, even though because it had Image in it, so of course I was kind of an Image fanboy, so I was kind of interested, but I just wasn't sure, and I never did get it. But isn't this the one that had the coupon for a separate issue? Is that right?
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing a coupon in the book.
Maybe that was something else. Maybe I'm thinking something from Image had a coupon for like an extra issue that came out. So I might be wrong, but
I know like 3 or 4 of the original Image creators they all had a coupon in their first couple issues of their book, and if you collected like all 4 of the coupons inside, you got a free Image Comics 0.
That's probably what it was. Okay, for some reason I thought Deathmate had something to do with that, but I could be wrong. Okay, sorry about that. I was just trying
Not
to
a problem.
clarify here. But the art, the art, and how's the story, I guess, on this?
Okay, well, let me break the story down to you.
Yeah.
So, we mentioned Solar, the Man of Atom, who was an original Gold Key comic book character.
Yes.
In the Valiant universe, he's basically Dr. Manhattan. He's a nuclear physicist who gets superpowers, and suddenly he can do all this really cool stuff. He's basically Dr. Manhattan. He has a wife, and in the future, in the year the old age of 2064, his wife, who looks the same as she did like when she was in her 20s, said, "Look, I can't do this anymore. I've been living like this for nearly 100 years. I'm ready to die." So Solar's like, okay. So he takes, evidently he had imbued some of his nuclear power into her so she could stay young forever, and she just got tired of it. So she said, it's time for me to die. He couldn't stand losing her, and so he has this weird power where if something goes wrong, he partitions off part of his brain, and it creates another aspect of himself. So this other aspect goes and flies off to another universe in this void space, whereas Solar just kind of spends the rest of his time doing whatever he does. Well, this other aspect goes out into this space, this void, this area in between universes, and he runs into the Wildcats character named, oddly enough, Void.
Yep.
And there he kind of falls in love with her, and they kind of commingle. And when a daddy universe likes a mommy universe, they come together and they have a baby universe.
Baby universe.
And that's where the Deathmate universe comes in. It's like this giant explosion of both of them kind of wrapped together, and like all these characters come together.
So it's an alternate timeline, I guess, or alternate universe.
Exactly. They like split off. You do like the whole whiteboard with Doc Brown showing, Marty McFly and him on the regular. Exactly. So kind of the same thing. We've got 2 universes coexisting at the same time, and they kind of split off and they merge. We get some interesting characters blending together. So we've got like here on the screen here, we have the Harbinger characters from Valiant with Rob Liefeld's Brigade characters and Mark Silvestri's Cyberforce characters. And there's this like cool little storyline where they're trying to get Jeff, the Geomancer, who is aware that the whole universe is falling apart because apparently when this baby universe is created, it only has a limited time.
Oh, okay.
So
each issue then, it looks like to me, focuses on a character or team from Valiant and then a character or team from Image. Is that accurate?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
The whole prologue sets up the idea that only 2 people in this other universe, and that was Jeff the Geomancer, as well as Rob Liefeld's character Prophet, know that this universe is going to fall apart, and so they're trying to do something about it. There in that panel on the top left-hand corner there, that's Jeff the Geomancer.
Oh, this black shirted guy with the bowl haircut.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's neat about him is he can he's called the Geomancer because he can hear the earth talk to him, and he has like these magical powers. But he's trying to like get a hold of somebody to help him, save the universe.
This is fun. I'll have to maybe check this out. It's one of those where, oh yeah, I saw it in the early 90s. I've seen it off and on for the last 30 years. Just never bothered to pick it up. And hey, maybe they actually finally got it released. So, it almost took Rob Liefeld 30 years, right?
Exactly.
Oh, man. Valiant, though, from what I read, was really studious about getting things out on time and quality. It seemed to me, very business, very Jim Shooter. Maybe that comes from Jim Shooter. He was very studious and really hard deadlines and really pushed the artist to try something different.
Yes. Yeah. He was all about meeting deadlines. And I think he imbued that into his company, because there are stories of when Jim was first writing these and setting up the whole Valiant universe and pushing these books out, that he'd stay at the offices for like hours on end, just doing inking and filling out the rest of panels with the dialogue balloons and stuff. So I mean, he put his heart and soul into this company, and he kind of carried on into the rest of the Valiant unit, or the people that made the books.
Well, that makes sense, because he was an editor at Marvel, so editors are notorious for about organizing deadlines and people and things like that. So that makes sense now that you mention it. So Liefeld and all those guys from Image probably just drove him absolutely batty because they couldn't get stuff done on time. So that's probably why Bob and him and just the whole Valiant company was not happy about these delays. I wonder, they put this together with Image, if they kind of decided to, well, maybe Image was so new, maybe they didn't know what they were getting into. They were just hopping on the Image bandwagon and hoping they could pull them across the finish line, so to speak, to get them out of the gate, selling some books.
Yeah. I mean, Image definitely bit off more than they could chew when they first started. They
did.
Didn't know the business angle. They didn't.
Yep.
They were like a bunch of hotshot guys that were like, "Hey, we can make our own money on this stuff."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I read many articles on that they came out the gate shooting and really hard, but then they found out the business aspect of it. They're artists, they're not businessmen, and they found out real quick the business aspect of comics is very difficult to navigate. And so that's why you saw Image, all their titles, the first 2, 3, 4 issues were written and drawn by them, but then they handed it off to somebody else because they had to go handle the business aspect of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is a good book. So how many issues on this crossover?
It's 6 issues. They were really, Valiant and Image were really pushing hard to get these books advertised. So they came up with 2 preview issues, and they were produced in the Previews World catalog and the Advanced Comics catalog. And they were 2 little side stories that were supposed to help like lead into the prologue. When you read them, they really don't lead into the prologue so much, and they kind of stand alone. And then when you read the Red issue, one of the characters is not doing anything that was part of the main storyline. So it's really kind of weird.
Some continuity issues there, huh?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And oddly enough, it was Rob Liefeld's character and Rob Liefeld's story that kind of was not part of the continuity.
Oh man,
I'm picking on Rob because it was the 90s, and
it was the 90s. He was an easy target on some things. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy contributed so much to the comic universe back in the 90s. You really can't take too much away from him, but some ways like these deadlines and just his art, it's okay, but mouths and feet, that's just he has a certain style that just really sticks out. Yeah, chest,
big guns, shoulder pads,
yes,
pockets.
we need more more pouches, more guns, more explosions. But again, he fits perfectly into the 90s. But he was part of the reason we had those types of thing in the 90s, because that was just what really stuck to kids and people that read comics in the 90s was more guns, more explosions, more pouches, more shoulder pads. So,
Yeah.
Oh man, I like that. That's awesome.
I'm gonna pick apart a little bit of Red.
Sure. Yeah, here we got Red
you
right
know,
in front here. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
So,
the
as you
delayed
can
one,
see-
right?
Yes, that's the delayed one. It came out after, and it's funny because I think it was just an excuse for Rob to draw a few of the characters that he liked at Valiant. Because I mean, he right there on the cover, he created this art style with Bloodshot, and I think he just really liked the character because he's featured on the cover, and then I think the first 6 pages are drawn by Rob, and then everything else is done by characters or artists in Extreme Studios. I don't know if I sent you some of the pictures, but there's this character Die Hard that's a Rob Liefeld creation, and they gave him a Cobra Commander kind of mask. And whenever he's jumping around, like the mask doesn't quite flow right with the direction that he's jumping.
You're right.
So,
that is a Cobra Commander mask.
Yeah, and I don't know, just the way that he drew it later on in some of the issues, it's like if he's jumping to the left, like the mask is going up instead of to the right or something like that. It's just it's really, really odd.
You're right.
And the story itself, it was kind of neat because he did introduce some other Valiant, or not Valiant, but other Image characters in the universe. Oh wait, you got to flip back. I'm get a little distracted here, but this is the 90s, and I don't know if you remember the 1993 presidential run, but there was an individual named Ross Perot.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you look in the Deathmate universe, Ross Perot is president.
That's awesome. What a fun way to just put a little pop culture in there. And he's getting assassinated, it looks like, or they're going to try to assassinate. Oh, that's awesome. Ross Perot became president. Oh, okay. Yeah. July 4th, 19. Yes. Okay. That's funny. Good catch there. I was trying to figure out who it was. Like, that's got to be somebody from the early 90s, some political figure. I was thinking not Bob Dole, but Dan Quayle. But now that you say Ross Perot, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Ross Perot.
Yeah,
that's funny. Love it.
The Deathmate Red storyline was a little weird because it featured a lot of Rob's stories, or a lot of Rob's characters, and very few of the Valiant characters. And there was a character that he created called Prophet, and Prophet was kind of like this guy who could tell. I mean, he was a mercenary, but he had these other special powers where he could tell when things were off. I never quite understood Prophet. His character was supposed to help the Geomancer character, but they never met in the Red book. Everything that Red had to do with Deathmate, it wasn't there. It was just a cool. I want to say it was like a cool little art book for Rob Liefeld to draw these characters. The story, in my opinion, felt a little lacking with the overall story.
Yeah, that sounds so. Rob Liefeld wrote it and drew it. Is that correct?
No, actually, I think Bob Layton wrote a majority of it.
So it sounds like maybe they were having some trouble getting the story and the characters to all fit in a 6-issue series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe they should have done 8 issues or 10 issues, maybe.
Then issue 10 will be coming out next week.
Yeah, next week. 28 years later. Oh man. So is that something you think would have made it better, is doing maybe 8 issues? Was it too rushed or too pushed?
I think it was too rushed. I think what might really have been better is kind of like what I first thought about the book was that if they had just had used the writers from Valiant to write the storyline and then give the scripts to the Image guys and have them draw everything, that would have been a phenomenal storyline. Now, I do want to point out though that there are some phenomenal artists over at Valiant. For example, Barry Windsor Smith, Joe Quesada, and I know there's another guy I can't think. Oh, Bob Hall. Bob Hall.
Oh yeah, Bob Hall. Yeah, Nebraska
So
native Bob Hall.
yes,
Yeah, Image was known for the art, so just let them do the art, and then have Valiant do the writing. That you're right. That probably would have been a better use of their talents.
yeah. Now, what I thought was really neat is, and I'm gonna go back to the prologue book, but the art was done by Barry Windsor Smith, but it was inked by Jim Lee. Now,
Oh,
just think of today, how crazy it would be to get those two guys to do a comic book together. I mean,
ooh,
just to have Barry Windsor Smith inked by Jim Lee.
that's
I
a good
mean,
idea. Yeah, I don't know that you'd ever get Jim Lee to do it because of the DC deal,
exactly,
but hey, crazier things have happened, I guess.
exactly. And this is part of the reason why I think you'll never see Deathmate reprinted, is because half the characters that they were using were Jim Lee's characters, and now Jim Lee is off to DC.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
Wildstorm Productions. Yeah.
exactly.
Uh,
And I believe Dark Horse currently holds the rights to all the Gold Key characters. So your Solar,
oh,
your Magnus, I'm trying to think of Turok, all those guys, their copyrights are held somewhere else. So yeah,
oh, you're right. So they're never going to see a reprint. I assume they've got this in trade paper. I assume they did this before they lost the rights to it. Do you think, or can you
yeah,
get
oh
it
yeah.
in?
This was all done in the '90s. So I mean, I had the original issues, but I sold them on eBay a while back.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go out and find some other way to read it. I'm not going to say how I found it because I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I understand. Did Valiant or Image ever put these in a trade paperback form in the early '90s? Do you know of?
I don't know.
I wonder if they did. I'm looking on Amazon right now, and I'm not
Gotcha.
finding it. So I don't know that they did. So the value on these might be actually pretty good. If
Yeah, I was just say I know about five years ago, as part of my big, hey, I'm getting rid of stuff to make room for uh,
kids and stuff.
yes, other stuff that's not comic book related. I believe I sold each book for about $8 or $9 each, and I think the
Okay.
cover prices was like $4.95.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they were for '90s comics. I mean, they printed a ton of these, so that was just kind of the run. Yeah, I'm not seeing it anywhere, so maybe they didn't. So not just a little tidbit here. Valiant in 1993 won Best Publisher over the 5% market share, becoming the first publisher outside of Marvel and DC to do so. For a little while, Valiant had some market share and some clout, I think.
it was like I think '93 was I mean, Image just came out, so I mean Valiant was already established. They had 2 years under their belt. They had
Mm-hmm.
their Magnus, they had their Solar, they had their stuff set up. So I mean, you can see where okay, they were an up and coming
Independent.
company.
Yeah, and they're
Yes, an
independent.
independent company.
So
So
here's a prediction. If Image would have waited another year or two, do you think Valiant would have been the go-to place for independent for artists? Maybe in another universe, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri would have went to Valiant instead of starting their own company.
that would be an interesting alternate reality
Yeah.
in a universe of madness. I would say.
Looks like Valiant was the first one to do chromium covers.
Yeah,
That's
and
interesting.
it's funny that it seemed to like help flood the market when with the big bubble. I mean, you had Ninjak, you had Exo
Oh
Man of War
yeah,
Zero with a chromium cover. You
Turok
had
had a chromium cover.
yeah, gosh, oh, Magnus, the robot fighter, like issue 25 had like this gold embossed cover. So they were playing with covers before they had these multiple variant covers that are available now.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I didn't know they did the chromium covers and the zero issues. So the company had some redeeming qualities. It just, for whatever reason, I just didn't pick up on. Oh, okay. Here, I found it. Harbinger Zero Pink was a coupon send away. So to get the pink issue, the zero issue, you had to buy, I think, some other Harbinger comics. Let's see. Harbinger 1 through 6 each originally contained a coupon for redeeming Harbinger number 0, the pink version. About 3,000 to 3,500. So only about 3,000 to 3,500 were in circulation. So that's makes it a very rare, valuable comic. That's cool. Okay, so it was Valiant the first one to do that.
Cool.
Ah, okay. I thought they were the ones, but I couldn't remember if it's Deathmate or not. Okay. Okay, cool.
Nice. I learned something new today.
Yeah, okay. All right. Fun. All right. Well, any more on Deathmate?
I don't think so. I think I kind of encapsulated most of Deathmate. So
okay.
Well,
I got
what other cool characters are on your plate?
Well, I got two more here just briefly. So, like I said, I just discovered all of this Valiant universe 5 years ago, and one of them that stuck out, speaking of Turok, was the Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, which is, again, another Gold Key comic from... Actually, no, I'm sorry, not Gold Key. It was from Western Publishing. They did the... I don't know if you remember those... oh, no, I'm sorry. It is Gold Key. I don't know where I was getting Western Publishing from. Gold Key Comics from 1956 to 1982. Wow, it ran quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, they... so Turok the Dinosaur Hunter is a Native American that went to this valley of the Lost Land, kind of like a Lost Land, a Lost World type of time or location where he fights dinosaurs, and it's just a fun
not
book.
Not all derivative of the Savage Land from
exactly.
Marvel Comics.
Yep. Marvel copied this. Yes, copied this. Well, I think it was who was his name? The guy that did Tarzan or wrote Tarzan and all that. What else did he do? He
Edgar
Mars.
Burroughs.
Yeah, Edgar Burroughs. Yeah. So that's where this is. I think the concept came from. But anyway, he's fighting dinosaurs and it's just going all these crazy adventures. Turok the Dinosaur Hunter #1 came out in from Valiant in I gotta find that here. 1993, July of 93. And it had the chromium cover. So we can thank Valiant for all the crazy gimmick covers of the 90s, I guess. Because they were all chromium or foil or something like that. But so Bart Sears did the penciling. And writer was David Michelny. I don't know if you pronounce his name. Very good.
I think Dave Michelny is the same guy that did the Daredevil series with Frank Miller.
I think you're right.
Might have to look that up.
Yeah, I think he might be. But it's a fun concept. He's in this dinosaur world and killing dinosaurs, and there's other barbarians and savages. They even do a crossover with Magnus here. They get invaded by robots from another time and alien robots. Well, I think this is where you were talking about, where they did the crossover, I think, if I remember correctly. I've only read issue 1 and 2, so I'm not well versed in the universe, but Magnus does play a part in this. Also, Rye and Exo Man of War. There's kind of a little crossover going on.
Oh, you know what? Now that you're flipping through this, I think this has ties into the big Universal Unity saga.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting that Bart Sears has a very unique art style. I mean,
he does.
Very reminiscent to big muscular anatomy, and very very strong with the ink lines, to get that definition of tone in the muscles, and the definition of shadows on the faces. It's really neat to see his art style.
It is. It's a cool. I like his art style. I'd never heard of him before until this, but I know he's done a lot of work in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. I should have pulled that up on it, but I know I did some research and I don't recall right offhand what he's done, but I know it's pretty extensive. But if you like dinosaurs and you like guys killing dinosaurs and just a fun alternative world, lost world type of storyline, you'll like Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. I remember it more from the Nintendo 64 video game that came out that was really popular. And so I didn't really know. I kind of knew as a comic, but never really looked into it any further. But I remember that video game that was pretty popular back in the 90s. So,
well, speaking of it being a video game, the main reason why there was some Valiant characters as video games is around 1997, 98, somewhere around there. Valiant Comics was sold, and it was bought by Acclaim Studios.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And that's where you get the Turok video game. I want to say there was a Shadow Man video game. I'm not sure.
I think there probably was, yeah.
And there's a couple others titles that became video games because video games were trying to get more IP so that they could start generating more money.
More titles,
basically.
Yeah.
So.
Smart idea. And I'm sure Valiant, Acclaim made a ton of money off of, but unfortunately it led to the demise of most of the comic book characters that were in the early 90s, but still, let's see. Yeah. So Bob Layton was the editor on this one as well. So a fun title. The other one I picked was Rye. So this one's kind of fun. I really like the robot future type things, but Rye came from Magnus the Robot Fighter. There's just a very brief mention about this New Japan, because all the Earth is covered in these mega cities. Well, this New Japan built a giant started out with a small space station, and then over the centuries, it just grew into this giant mega city in space that was the size of Japan in space. And
in space.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where this came from. Just a brief mention in Magnus's kind of origin or history is this New Japan that's in space. And so they came up with this character. It's in the same timeline as Magnus. So it's the year 4001. Japan has begun to consume every square inch of free space within the island nation. So they go to space and build this whole world that is up in space. So Rai is the spirit guardian that protects the nation of Japan in the 41st century. The mantle is normally passed down from father to son. He is cybernetic. He is actually a future derivative of Bloodshot from the early timeline, early Valiant universe. He's kind of the advanced version of Bloodshot. He uses, nanobots and nanotech to heal himself. He's really strong, moves really fast. And the world or the universe is run by what they think is a benevolent AI, but as we know, AI is never benevolent in these scenarios and doesn't have the best interest in mind for humans. And so he finds out that he's been working for the devil all along. So, and the AI is called Father. I mean, we're already, again, you can already tell where this is going to go. So anyway, he has to turn against the AI and save the humans. And so it's kind of a fun story that came out in 1992. But I just like the concept of taking an obscure sentence in the Magnus universe and creating a whole universe out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So very fun story. That the artwork, it's good. I don't think it's as good as maybe as Turok. I don't remember who the artist was on this one. Let me find that out. Oh, I don't have it. It's probably on one of these pages here, but it's a little more. It's still good, but it seems a little blockier than maybe my liking. But I still think the story's fun. The art's still very good for the time, and so yeah, I think it's a good one to check out. They did reboot this back in 2016, and I like the reboot better than the original, in my opinion. I think the artwork's better, the story's better. It just seemed to flow. Maybe it doesn't hold its age for me, I guess. But the reboot is really good. So if you don't want to go find the original, just find the reboot that they did in 16 and 17, and you'll like it. They have that all collected, and it's still ongoing as far as I know.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't read the reboot yet, but I do remember reading the original Rye.
That's what I was just going to ask you. So you read this originally?
Yeah. In fact, I have it sitting right here next to me.
Oh.
It's this nice little trade paperback.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Rye.
Yep.
And of course, this is the Rye that takes place after your Rye storyline.
Okay.
But they, again, with the whole zero issues. So when they launched these trade paperbacks, they put not zero issues, but companion issues.
Oh,
and
okay.
Again, the whole blurriness of the screen. I'm sorry, I got my blur set, so you guys. But the companion actually has Bloodshot in it, and it tells the story of how Bloodshot gets his special nanite blood, so that he becomes a superhero. So it's a good read. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, what were your first impressions of Rye back in the day? Do you remember?
Yeah, actually, I thought it was a really cool concept, because I mean, we're talking about a samurai warrior who's for generations has been protecting Japan, and now we flash forward to 4001 AD, and there's this protector guardian who's fighting robots with a samurai sword,
Yes.
And he's got these special nanites in his. I can't remember if the nanites were in his blood in the original series.
I think they were.
Okay, so he's got these nanites in his blood that helps him control and take control of the different aspects of this giant city. And I don't want to spoil anything too much with this giant city, but when you think of Japan, what mythical creatures do you tend to think of?
Serpents and dragons.
Exactly. And later on in issues, you find out what really this floating city looks like.
Yep. Yep. I know where you're going.
And there's a lot of that reminds me of like Voltron and stuff. And so you see some transmogrification, because we can't use the term transformer because it's copywritten, but the planet or the space station kind of shifts and morphs, and it's really cool concept.
Well, I think you can use it. They used it in Spaceballs.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a transformer.
Anyway, yeah. So you liked it too, I guess. Okay, so flashback to the early 90s. Matt's young and liking all these Valiant comics. Give us your maybe top 3, top 4 Valiant comics from the early 90s.
Oh geez. Well, Magnus is definitely one of them.
Okay.
Exo Man of War.
Okay.
Now I didn't grab any Exo Man of War, but
that's fine.
He was brought in a little later, like during the Unity Saga kind of thing. But it's a cool concept. It's an Iron Man derivative.
Yep.
But instead of it being a Tony Stark, it's a Visigoth from early Roman times who gets this super Iron Man suit that's part alien. And when he busts out of this alien spaceship where he's been captured, it's the present day. So it's got man out of time with an alien symbiote suit. So he's like He's like a Visigoth with, hey, Jesse Kiefer.
Hey, Jesse.
It's a Visigoth with a Venom suit and an Iron Man suit, all like rolled into
All
one.
mashed together. Yep.
And then the next title I would say was probably Shadow Man. And Shadow Man was kind of neat because he was a voodoo demigod crime fighter.
Yeah,
I
never read it, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And he's also a sax player.
Wow, what a combination! That's Bob
Yeah.
Hall creation, wasn't it? Bob Hall created
Yes.
him. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, those will be my top three of the Valiant stories.
All right. Yeah, Shadow Man. I kind of forgot that. Yeah, that was another one that was just all new, just like the Rye, Exo Man of War, all of that. Yeah. So Jesse makes a good point. Yeah, the remake, modern Exo remake was epic. So like you were talking about, yeah, very He-Man-esque.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I read the remakes. Okay, so here's a good question for you, Matt. Have you read a lot of the new Valiant the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years?
I must admit that I've only read a handful of titles just because you can't see it here because I got the whole screen blurred, but I've got a stack of books right here beside me of stuff that I need to read yet.
I understand.
My time and my reading is kind of like, okay, I gotta cram some stuff in here.
Yep. I totally get it. I read the new Unity that they did. It was really good. The Rye was really good in my opinion. Now I'm going to dog on Ninjak a little bit. I just couldn't get into Ninjak himself, but I liked him when he was in Unity with the group, but by himself, I just couldn't get into Ninjak for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just me. Faith was a good one. I kind of liked the Faith comics. She was part of Unity as well. And let's see what else. Britannia was another Valiant, so it's not part of this superhero, but Britannia was really good. But yeah, I really liked Rye and Unity. Theirs were kind of the ones I really gravitated towards, and then Faith.
Gotcha. Well, now if I can pick your brain a little bit, the Unity that they relaunched, was that just like a group of superheroes trying to save the world, or was there more of a
So
I was
it was Exo Man of War, Ninjak, Eternal Warrior, I think it's Livewire was her name, and a few others. So those are the ones that come to mind.
Okay.
That's but yeah, I thought it was a good team. So it's like X-Men, Avengers, whatever you want to call it for the Valiant universe. So
gotcha.
But you can pick those up. I mean, you can pick up a lot of these other than, like I said, Turok and Deathmate can't pick up because there's just too many licensed IPs. That's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a rarity.
Yeah. So if you're at your local comic shop and you're flipping through those dollar bins and you come across an issue of Deathmate, I'm going to suggest pick it up for that $1 because I'm sure in a couple of years you might be able to turn it around for a decent penny.
Yeah, that's one of the few 90s comics that actually probably will increase in value and has increased in value. Unlike all the Image stuff, the Wildcats, the Youngbloods, all those that there's 10 million copies of it and it's gone down in value. You picked it up for $1.95 in 1993 and you can still buy it for $1.95. So all right. Well, hey, Matt, anything else you want to add? Otherwise, I think we've gone down memory lane as far as Valiant Comics go.
Okay. Yeah, there's one last thing I want to mention, and I'm gonna go back to an episode that you talked about comic cards.
Oh yeah.
Now, not only was Deathmate a comic book, but it was also some comic cards.
Really?
And
nice.
I have yet to sell these off, but
okay.
I'm gonna.
Have you got the whole set?
I got like the whole set
of
cool. Comic cards. But what's really neat is that they had chaser cards. So you had
Oh.
chromium.
Oh, cool.
Chromium cards, as well as your
Really?
standard.
Now,
And what's neat,
did those
go
come
ahead.
in just little packs, or how did they come packaged?
They came packaged like your standard baseball cards. You had
Okay.
packs and you had
It's
your
like,
chase cards to go and get.
okay,
But
so like
what's
10
really
of
neat,
them or something like that in a pack. Okay.
yeah. But what's really neat is that it took they took panels of the storyline. So if you didn't get the issues and you got the cards, it at least gave you like the story breakdown, and then it broke down the
Oh.
story for you. It was a neat
Okay.
little concept, but they only did it for the Valiant issues, the ones that like the
So,
prologue, the blue, the yellow, all that.
okay. So like I got one on the screen here. Is that one of them?
Yep, that was one of them.
Okay. Like Jim Lee did. Oh, there's Die Hard with his hoodie.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Okay. All right.
So, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So there was
Ah,
some Valiant comic book cards that were available at some point. So
Tops did those. Okay. Fun. So they really didn't put a lot of thought into them. That sounds like they just took panels and put them on a card then for
yeah,
the
yeah,
most
they took
part.
some
Okay.
panels.
Okay.
They took the covers, they threw them on there, and
Yeah.
they
Okay.
basically just try to find another way to tell the story, to kind
Okay.
of get the story out there.
Cool though. I like that. That's actually the art's not too bad on those.
Oh yeah,
Huh. Okay.
there was a lot of cool like Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri art in the series.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean you can't go wrong with Jim Lee. I mean, some people dog on him as he's an old timer, but I mean he is an older guy, but you can't take away from his art.
No, no, not at all.
Come on. All right. Well, thanks, Matt. It was fun talking old Valiant. Maybe we'll have to dive into some newer Valiant at some point, and because, like I said, I still like some of the new stuff. So, if you can get through your stack of stuff, we can
Exactly, yeah.
try another episode of maybe some of the newer Valiant. I like that. I wouldn't mind talking about the Britannia series. That was really good, and the new Rye.
Totally.
Those are fun. So, I definitely
Yeah,
talk. There's
I'd
not a
love
lot
to.
of Valiant fans out there, so we're kind of rare, even today.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go. Thanks for everybody in the chat, Jesse and Kurgan and anybody else. Appreciate the feedback, but we're signing off. Matt, real quick, how can people listen to your podcast or get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on the EMC network, and I have two shows there. Or actually, I have three shows there, but two with my voice. I have the 60s Reboot podcast, which I admit I haven't released anything lately. And then I have Comics with My Kids, where I talk about this stuff, comic book stuff, but it's geared more towards kids. So you won't get a lot of the Dark Knight Returns stories that I like to talk about, but I'll talk more along the lines of family friendly comics like Hilo, and a new episode we're going to be releasing pretty soon is the one on gotta look over here, Wings of Fire book series. So yeah, they're more geared towards the whole family.
Sure. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again sometime, and we'll talk more nerdy comics.
Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Well, signing off. Thank you, everybody.